Good day, viewers. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk Show. In today's episode, we will be talking about Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 premium mobile platform was unveiled recently by Qualcomm Technologies at the company's annual Snapdragon Summit. We will talk in greater detail about this new chip in this episode, including how it differs from its predecessor and how much faster it is. Before we start this episode, we would like to introduce you to Silicon Valley Global PH Inc. CEO, Mr. Sajjad Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on board, sir. Welcome, sir. Without further ado, let's get started.
Okay, so we are going to talk about something a little bit different again today. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss about hardware, which is my favorite favorite subjects. I was studying computer engineering in past days, so it is something that I really understand a little bit well. So what we talk about today is the before there was a CPUs, there was different, and GPUs are different, and some other things was differently. So we put them in a we call it motherboard, and we put them together with different voltage and some other things. So it was a little bit complicated. But with the latest technology right now, we are putting everything together in one. We call it SoC, meaning one small board or one small chips. We put all them together. So especially in the past, even until today, I think Intel and AMD and other chip designers or developers, they do still do separate things. Like we have different GPUs, hardware. We have different RAMs and some other things. So I think in the future, even RAM will be included in the like mobile and other things. So without delays, we'll talk about today the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Generation 2 chips. Okay, why we call Quantum Snapdragon 8? Why is 8?
Because the new version.
This is the Series 8 and Gen 2 is Generation 2.
Yeah.
So if there is a Generation 2, that means there was a Generation 1,
yeah.
right? If there is a Snapdragon, Qualcomm Snapdragon 8, there was a 7. There was a 6, right? So anyway, this generation on the Series 8, basically on the Qualcomm hardware, we're going to talk about what are the difference between the 8
plus
Gen 1, then 8 plus Gen 1, and 8 Gen 2, right? So there are 3 chips designed like last years, last few years, like two years time. So we talk about today is the Snapdragon Gen 2, of course, but before we go into that one, we'll a little bit compare what are the differences between these three generation of chips. So Ishad, can you explain a little bit, or Alif, can you tell me about the new Snapdragon? Okay, before we do that, we will go for Snapdragon Series 8 Generation 2 chipset, a little bit specifications. So Alif, you go with the specification for the Gen 2 in the Snapdragon.
So in the specification of Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, we would have the manufacturing process of TSMC 4 nanometers, and CPU is 1223, means one Cortex X3 with 3.2 gigahertz, 2 Cortex A715, and 2 Cortex A710, which are both performance cores, then 3 Cortex A510, which is 2 gigahertz, which is the efficiency cores.
Okay, so in the past, when we design or when we see CPUs, there was no such things as efficiency cores.
Yeah.
There was no such things as performance core. It was purely a chip.
Yeah.
So that chip, it is always sharing different processing power from the same chips. That's why the chips was not fast. Example, when we do a certain process, when we go for multitasking, so that's where the chips was not very efficient. So right now, what the new chip designers like Apple, so basically all these things started from Apple. Yeah, they're the one who start designing the neuro engine, the artificial intelligence, and the efficiency core, the performance core. We can call the calculative, the computer calculation power. So there are a lot of things. Basically right now we have the machine learning. So in one chip, what they do is they design in a way that it will be one chip, but it has separate task for separate cores. So only example, the one ML course is going to take care only the machine learning. There are cores for efficiency. There are what do you mean by efficiency?
Efficiency for like maybe power consumption.
So efficiency is, it can be we call it like watt per dollar. They call it sometimes.
Yeah.
What do you mean by watt per dollar is how much dollar will be spent per watt
Yeah.
of electricity consumption. So especially for we will talk about mobile today, but especially on the server chips, of course in the mobile also, because in mobile the battery power or the long battery life is very, very important. So for that one, that's why we have this performance core, which is meaning maybe it will have more mobile battery uses, but performance will be very big.
Yeah.
Okay, so it very little. But when we are not needed that performance core anymore, so we can just use like relaxing, you are doing chat and some other thing, which is not very hardware intensive. So those core can be used for your regular cores. So those are the reason why right now they are putting up different things in one chip. So no different. Qualcomm basically introduced the similar stuff like what Apple did with Bionic chips. So A15, A14, and all those chips, Apple really do creative things, and we will talk about Apple chips in the new A16 Bionics with chips. We're going to talk about on our next episode. So today we're going to still focus on what Qualcomm bring it to us. So the Qualcomm basically have chipset designed for very long time. So this is one of their very, very high performance hardware that the processor they develop for our brands, mobile companies, for the premium mobiles we can call. So what are the mobile brands maybe in the future or in 2023 the Qualcomm is ready to go to? What brands?
The brands that are lined up are Asus, Honor, Aiko, Motorola, Nubio, OnePlus, Oppo, Red Magic, Redmi, Sharp, Sony, Vivo, Xiaomi, Xingji, Meizu, and ZTE.
So there are a lot of brands. These are the world top brands you can say for the Android devices, right? So of course Apple is different, but for the Android devices, these are the top brands in the market. So if Qualcomm, all of them are using a Qualcomm Snapdragon processors, that simply means that they really see, because every time a processor company, when they make a processor, they bring that one to the hardware developers, like brand companies like Samsung and Sony and Vivo and Oppo and all other companies. They bring the sample and they show them what will be the performance, what will be the battery use, how efficient this core is. So of course there are number of hardware designer on the competitors basically. There are a lot of them, right? So one of them is like, for example, Qualcomm.
Yeah.
What is the other companies that they're competing with Qualcomm series?
So the contenders are MediaTek Dimensity 9200, then Google Tensor G2, then also Apple's A16 Bionic chip.
Okay. So one of the other hardware that I've been watching, but with Samsung, but I think even Samsung itself is using that. But I was very hoping that Samsung would basically, one of the TSMC employees was pirated by Samsung, and that guy really developed a lot of chipset for Samsungs, and the guy go back to the TSMC right now, and Samsung I think goes back in the table and focusing on. So here we talk about the Samsung. So Samsung latest mobile is coming up, which is what is the name?
I think Samsung
S23, right?
Yeah, Exynos.
Exynos. So Samsung Exynos and it is coming up. So the Samsung new mobile is coming, which is
S23.
S23,
Yeah,
right?
S23.
So on the S23, I think this Qualcomm hardware will be there. I think
they're
the processors
planning
to talk to them, and of course Apple created a good variations like the one while ago we discussed is like Vivo. Vivo has new model coming up like
X90.
X90. So X90 can be a X90, can be X90 Pro, it can be X90 Plus,
Yeah.
it can be X90 Ultra or whatever. So I don't know yet, but X90 definitely will have a Pro version,
Yeah.
which is the cameras, the high resolution cameras, and some other good specs will be there. So I believe even so unlike in the past, one model normally use one processors.
Yeah.
But right now, example, the one Vivo planning is on the X90. They might be using on the Pro version. They might use the Qualcomm, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. But on the regular version, classic version, which
MediaTek.
is they might be able to use MediaTek. So it's two hardware company. Before they are competing, who will do what versions or what model of the phone. But the problem is right now they're creating the same model, but they have variations.
Yeah, the variations.
So on that variations, they can use different hardware company.
Yeah.
So example, S23 can have Qualcomm. At the same time, they can use Apple in-house chip design,
Yeah.
right? The Exynos, the one we discussed. Apple is, the Samsung. Samsung is still now did not decide if they will be using that one.
Yeah.
And also Samsung new hardware might be, although Samsung is one of the largest
Yeah.
semiconductor in the world, and they are the first one who have the 3 nanometer chipset in the world. Basically, they are the one who practice they are producing it right now. But I think that the yield capacity is not very good. So I think Samsung is still gonna use TSMC's 4 nanometer chipset or 4 nanometer. They call it the P or plus, meaning the second generation of the 4 nanometers. So basically, what is the latest chipset? I mean, what is the latest TSMC is using the 4 nanometer second generation right now. So before this is the pre 3 nanometer basically time. So I think there are a lot of hardware still going on the 4 nanometers process. They call basically 4 nanometer process. But I think we'll have a lot of good time on 2023 when a lot of this Intel, Samsung, and AMD and global foundries in the US and some of the Micron and somebody who already ordered the machines for the chipset and who are putting up a lot of factories in Europe, in Americas, in Japan and other countries. They're putting up a lot of semiconductor mega factories where those things will be there and they will compete each other on those. So but until now, for example, Intel, they have their own process, they have own semiconductor factories, and Intel is coming up with a lot of gigafactories abroad with joint venture with Sony in the US, in Japan, and in Europe, in US, and also in Asia also. So they're putting up also factories in Vietnam, because we all see that America and China's war. Vietnam is getting a good good numbers of investors on the semiconductor industries. Beside, of course, Taiwan is number one. So TSMC is there, but I think Samsung is still gonna produce their hardware on TSMC, and Qualcomm is deciding if on their next generation hardware they might be splitting to Samsung and TSMC at the same time. So what we talk about is okay. So what do you think this second generation Qualcomm Snapdragon, mobile chips, the premium mobile chips we can say, is the difference? How many percent of battery use is doing, or what do you think is the main features of these processors?
So it was said that they have this groundbreaking AI.
Okay, that's groundbreaking AI, because they can call that like groundbreaking AI, meaning they have numbers of generation and they are nearing to the perfection of the AI technology. Okay.
So in this AI, it says that in the website, AI Gen N includes the Qualcomm Hexagon processor with revolutionary microtile referencing and faster tensor acceleration for up to 4.335 times faster AI performance than its predecessor. So it's the previous version. Plus support for NT4 precision boots for performance per watt by 60% for sustained AI inferencing.
Okay, so you see, so they're talking about the tensor. So it's basically the tensor is the AI technology they're using. Basically, when you do software development, you know already that that Google Tensor is the one who is advanced on the AI
Yeah.
AI platform. So Google, even their chipset, they call it
Tensor
Tensor processor. So this Tensor is basically the AI developed by Google.
Google.
So they're using this Tensor artificial intelligence to their chipset in order for them to have a better groundbreaking
AI.
artificial intelligence. Yes. So what else?
So there's also accelerated performance. Our Cryo CPU, it says, delivers 35% faster performance and 40% power efficiency. These improvements are thanks to their brand new microarchitecture, which converts one efficiency core into additional performance core up to reach peak multi-threaded performance with speeds up to 3.2 gigahertz.
Okay. See, on the mobile, we never thought about even one gigahertz, but now on the processor, on the CPUs, on the desktop, basically, when in the past we talk about like 2.4 gigahertz, 3 gigahertz, and 3.1, whatever it is, but on the mobile we talk about only megahertz. Okay, so small, and right now they're going into gigahertz. It's like in the mobile we're getting the PC performance, basically. So the CPU, GPU, the memories and everything is getting improved very quite significant. So, and also the one you mentioned about the other things that we need to be very important is the efficiency. At the same time, the uses of battery use. So when the efficiency core increase, of course the battery should be increasing. But what they do is in the chipset, they sink in billions of transistors. At the same time, they are finding ways to have power efficiencies, because power efficiencies meaning battery life. Okay, so we have when this smartphone came out in the world, we have a lot of problems because we have battery problem every 2 hours. When we go online, when we go 3G is 4G or LTE or 5G, we have a lot of issues in the past. But right now they perfected, and now with the 4 nanometer chip, we will have at least less power efficiency, but at the same time they are trying to improve that one for that. So in 2023, when the 3 nanometer chip will come, it will be at least 25 to 35% more power efficient, and also the speed will be more higher because you can have more transistors sink into the SoCs. So anyway, so this Qualcomm Snapdragon hardware. So we have, again, we call in the past that we talk about that. So the difference between the three will be, what are the difference between these three?
So in the manufacturing process, it's quite the same actually, except for the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which is using the Samsung Foundry 4 nanometers. But the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 and Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 uses the TSMC second generation 4 nanometers.
Okay.
In the CPU, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is using 1, 2, 2, 3 again, which is the 1 Cortex X3 for the prime processor, 3.2 gigahertz, 2 Cortex A715 for 2.8 gigahertz, 2 Cortex A710 for 2.8 gigahertz again. This is both our performance cores. Then 3 Cortex A510 for 2 gigahertz, which is efficiency cores. While in the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, it's 1, 3, and 4, which is 1 Cortex X2 3.2 gigahertz for the prime processor, 3 Cortex A710 for 2.8 gigahertz for the performance cores, 4 Cortex 510 for 2 gigahertz for efficiency cores. In Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, on the other hand, 1 Cortex X2 3 gigahertz for the prime processor, 3 Cortex 710 for the performance cores, 2.5 gigahertz, 4 Cortex 510 1.8 gigahertz, which is the efficiency core.
Okay, so we see they're using a number of CPU to sink into one SoC.
Yeah.
Okay, but when you see the generation 1 on the Snapdragon generation 1, we see that there is a gap, or even it is the same. If you're looking at the chart, you'll see that when they use the same Cortex X2, but the speed of the clock is basically 3 gigahertz. At the same time, when you go for 8 Plus, you see the same Cortex X2 they're using, but the clock speed was 3.2 gigahertz. So it really improved. So we cannot say it's only X2. It can be X2 Plus or something like that. So they have their higher clock speed on their core. At the same time, when you talk about the Cortex 710 is the same. On the 8 Plus, they're using like 2.8 gigahertz. On the Gen 1, we are only using 2.5 gigahertz. At the same time, on the 510 is the same. When the Gen 1 was having 1.8 gigahertz, on the Gen 8 Plus Gen 1 again is using 2 gigahertz, and of course on the latest one is also 2 gigahertz.
Yeah.
But on the latest processors, they have added more CPUs.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have added like on the 8 Plus there was only one 710, 2.8 gigahertz, but on the Gen 2 they're having 715.
Yeah, 715.
Right, so they added the 715, the speed added, so they're using the latest technology of their GPU. Qualcomm, they're one of their advantage of they have a very good GPUs basically. So they're custom designed GPUs. So that GPUs also improved from 730 to 740, and the new things on the hardware ray tracing. That's very, very important, that for us to have those people who are playing games and having more visual effects and visual things. So they call it ray tracing. So the mobile ray tracing is just something very, very new and very, very latest technology basically. Unlike Intel, they have these ray tracing things in the past for the gaming, but on the mobile, you can see many people are going into mobile for their games and some other high performance like video editing, because some people are doing so graphics oriented works they're doing. So this ray tracing is gonna do a lot of help for them basically. So at the same time, they have all of them have similar display supports. I think all their hardware display support doesn't change that much in time. It takes time for them. But one of the other things is the memory.
Yeah.
So also, of course, the memory is very important because it processes faster or slower. So on the memory, if you have the higher like DDR in mobile, we call it DDR in the desktop, but on the mobile we call it LPDDR. This is the latest technology basically. Of course, so we have the 5X on the
Gen 2.
on the Gen 2, we have Gen 1 8 Plus, we have the 5. Again on the Gen 1 we have 5, but they have a little bit clock speed difference as well.
Yeah.
And I think camera and other things are pretty much same, and there are new video decoding, which is AB1. So they have, I mean, the Gen 2 has a better performance. I think it has like 8K videos with 60 FPS. Yes, FPS, the frame rate basically, and other ones doesn't have, I think, the 60 FPS.
60 FPS.
And of course on the modem they're using the new
X70.
X70, which is more higher than the X65.
Yeah.
And X70 is very good performance modem basically. And they said MM. What do you mean by MM?
Millimeter.
Yeah. So it's the millimeter wave.
Yeah.
So wave plus. So that's basically what they're using on their modem technology. So Qualcomm basically is very, very well known for their modem development and modem technologies. That's why they have 5G modems for mobile. Even their 5G modem is by Apple. So for their own A15 Bionics chips. So they're using the module of the modem. A 5G modem is Apple has been trying to design their own modem for a very long time, but their team is not that efficient. Same like what I said a while ago is Samsung. Samsung has their own chipset, but they're not using that one. Instead of they're going for the Qualcomm. Samsung has their own process technology, which is the semiconductor. They're still using TSMC. so it's like a blended.
Yeah.
What these people trying to do is they give us the best performance mobile, and with of course with the premium, but at the same time they're trying to give us the best performance mobile in order to stay in the market as a premium brand. Because when you talk about a regular brand or mid-range mobile, it doesn't really matter that much. But when you talk about premium high-end mobile right now, this is very, very crucial. So that's why they take their time to decide which process to use, how to do it. So in like Qualcomm is having problem on their Gen 2 or Gen 3 maybe development in 2023, because the Apple fully booked the 3 nanometer chips of the TSMC. So TSMC cannot supply this to other brands or other companies. So right now, because of our chip war between China and USA, and recently the American president meet with the Chinese president like 2 days ago or yesterday. So I think they talk about some other things, and China says America cannot progress without Chinese help on the chip process. So I don't know what's going to happen with the geopolitics issue. So I will end this one right now with these things. So Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor is one of the best processors in the market right now when we compare in Android ecosystems.
Yes.
So they are the best. Although Dimensity came out, I think I've seen a lot of comparison between the Dimensity, the Qualcomm Gen 2 and other. But I think still Qualcomm is standing on the top on the comparison. So they're the best chips right now for the mobile, for Android premium phone market. So I think I will end these things with today, and I will have Ali to conclude today's episode.
That concludes today's episode about the Qualcomm's brand new chip for 2023's flagship smartphones, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. Once again, thank you to our CEO, Mr. Sajid Khan, and thank you viewers for watching, and have a nice day.
Thank you very much.
Hello, techies!
Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for our future videos.
And if you have any further questions, please comment down below.
That concludes our today's video of Tech Talk Show. Watch out for future videos.